Want to play blues guitar that sounds full and complete all on its own? No band, no backing track, just you and your guitar. Well, in today's video, I'm going to take you through a simple but very cool sounding fingerstyle blues piece. It's going to lay down some backing, a groove if you like, and then we're going to put some melody and harmony on top of it all at the same time. I'm going to break it down for you step by step so that you can understand it. This piece is perfect if you're beginning your finger picking journey or you're somewhere, around that intermediate level. It would be also suitable. Before we get into it, if you could like this video right now, I'd really appreciate it. It'll push it out there into the world of YouTube for others to find. And if you haven't already and you like the content I release each week, I'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel. So the form of today's tune is an 8-bar blues in the key of E. So when we're doing slightly intricate arrangements, chord melody sort of stuff, we want to not get lost in the detail and be able to see the forest for the trees. What are the basic chords? What's the form? So it's 8 bars, it's a blues in E, and we begin with 2 bars of E7, the 1 chord, 2, then we go to the 4 chord A7, also for 2 bars, 2, 3, and back to the 1 chord E7 for a bar, B7 for a bar, that's the 5 chord, back to E7 again, the 1, and the 5, 2, 3, and then you're back to the start again to finish or to go another round. So if you're used to the more common 12-bar blues, it's going to feel a little shorter, short and sweet, but it's a great form for playing fingerpicking blues and any sort of blues. So it's the 1, 4, and 5 chord, but just in a slightly different arrangement. Okay, so that's the form of today's blues. When you're learning the arrangement, I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. It's important to know the basic foundation because sometimes you'll need to fall back on it. It also helps you remember what's happening in the arrangement. Now we're going to get into the arrangement. Let me play you the first chorus and then we'll come back and we'll break it down. Now the key to this piece is getting the independence between the thumb and the fingers. Basically separating and seeing the roles of each. So the thumb is all about the accompaniment, the bass, and the fingers are all about the melody on the higher strings. And we want to be able to coordinate those together so they can both do their roles at the same time. Okay, so if we break this down, 8-bar blues tends to break up into 4 lots of 2 bars. That's how you kind of hear the phrasing. So if we look at the first 2 bars, we lead into it. Here's bar 1 and bar 2. And then we get a couple of bass notes at the tail end of the second bar, all about approaching the next chord in bar 3, which is A7. For the most part, your thumb is just playing on the beat, on the E to imply the E7 chord on the beat, while your fingers play the melody, which is sometimes with the bass note, sometimes without the bass note. It's good to separate and even play the parts separately. So if I just played the melody part of the first 2 bars, the first phrase of the tune, we get this, 2, 3, 4, right? It's good to do that on its own. Know how it sounds, be able to play it on its own, see the role and which notes are melody. There's a little harmony happening there, 6th harmony, which is going to feature in this blues piece today. Okay, common harmony on guitar that's happening on this G sharp note. It's harmonized with a B, 2 strings lower in the same fret. Okay, and then we've got single notes. If we isolate the bass for the first 2 bars, it's simply going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then the bass note connections to get to the A. Okay, so you want to do exactly that. Play it separately so you can see very obviously which are bass notes, which are accompaniment, which are melody notes, okay, and be able to play and hear them separately. That's a key part to playing chord melody before you put it all together. When we do, we get this. Okay, that's the first 2-bar phrase. Then we go to the next 2 bars, which is going to be over our A7 chord. And at the tail end of the previous 2 bars, as I said, we have this little bass note connection which connects chromatically to the A. So if I was to just go 3, 4 and up to 5, you would see it's chromatic, 1 fret at a time. Here I go to the open A instead, but it's still a chromatic connection. And much like I did on the E, I pedal the A string throughout these 2 bars. So this is the bass part, just on the beat, nothing fancy. And the melody part is going 1, and really the last 3 notes there, I shouldn't have even really played those last 3 notes. They're part of the next phrase. So when we say it breaks into 2-bar phrases, it can overlap a little bit. That's what makes it more interesting, more melodic, more musical. So really the phrase of that next 2 bars on the A7, where we are here, is this: 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3. That's it. And again, you see this 6th harmony coming much like it did over the E7 chord. Okay, for the A7 here. When we put the 2 together, we get this. Then we're going to the 3rd 2-bar phrase of our 8-bar blues here. As I said, we get this little part that's anticipating the next phrase. It's part of the next phrase, but it's happening before bar 5. And then, okay, that's the first part of our phrase. That's the next 2-bar phrase there, bars 5 and 6, happening over the E7 1 chord, but then moving to the B7 chord. So again, just the melody there, and the B7, really nice line there on the B7, chromatic movement on the 3rd string, and then up to the E to anticipate returning to the 1 chord. And the bass is very simple, it's just on the beat, 2, 3, 4, but there is a little bass note connection, chromatic half step below the root of the B. So you're playing on the E, 2, 3, 4 to B, 2, which is just on the beat. So again, you want to separate the 2 parts, play them separately, then you work at putting them together. It would sound like this if I do the notes leading into it. And then we get to the last 2 bars. The last 2 bars of any blues, be it 8 bars, 12 bars, is the turnaround. So we've got a very common classic turnaround. If you play a lot of blues, you'll know this turnaround. If you don't, you'll know it soon enough. But there's a cool thing happening here with this turnaround. And again, we're separating the bass from the melody here. So if we look at the bass in the turnaround, we've got the low E, and then we're moving chromatically up to the root, well actually initially to the 5th of the E. This is a B note, but it's an E7 at that point. So we're moving chromatically. E, G sharp, A sharp, B. Now while that chromatic movement is ascending in the bass, we've got chromatic movement descending in the melody here, in the higher register, and it's moving down 1 fret from 3, 2 to 1 to B. So when we put those together, it sounds like this. There's one more thing we've got to do, and that is add an open E string in between each one of those moving parts in the bass and on that 2nd string. So it sounds like this. And then what happens there is we approach the 5 chord but with a C9, another dominant chord, C9, half step above, and then resolve into the B7. So the turnaround as a whole goes like this. Very common turnaround, and again the bass and the melody moving in opposite directions to each other. You might also notice when I'm playing the piece, I'm pedaling the bass, but I'm muting the bass. You don't have to do that, and you may not do that initially because you want to get all the mechanics down first, and we'll talk more about that when we're looking at the 2nd chorus, you know, how to put the thumb and the fingers together in a little bit more detail. However, I am muting it so that I can get more contrast between my melody and the bass. I want the bass to sit back a bit. So I mute it and let the melody ring out. Back to the E, B, and our turnaround. Where we're ready ready to go again or end the piece. So that is the first chorus of our blues arrangement. I'm going to now play you the second chorus. It's very, very similar, so see if you can pick the difference. I'm sure you will. It's really only one part. Then we'll come back and we'll break it down, and I'll speak a little bit more to the skill of coordinating these two parts together, getting that thumb to play on the beat while these do the melody. Okay, we'll look at that a little bit more in the second chorus. So here is that second chorus. Could you pick the difference there? I'm sure you could. It was in bar 4 over the 4 chord A7. We start the same with our 6th harmony on the E7 chord for 2 bars. Our bass note connection chromatically into the root of the A starts the same here and then here. Okay, so we're using some common little 6th harmony on strings 1 and 3 here to outline a A7 chord, an A7 chord there, with the bass still in the thumb happening on the 5th string. And then we're back down to the open position, and everything else is the same as the first chorus. And the turnaround. And then we can just finish on a strum of the E7 chord. So the key to playing this piece, and basically a lot of fingerstyle blues stuff, is to have that independence between the thumb and your fingers, so that your thumb can play a solid groove, lay the foundation. Is so important, particularly when you're playing on your own and there's no bass player or drummer or anything like that. You've kind of got to take on those roles too. So your thumb's got to keep the steady pulse, if you like, or the beat of the piece, while your fingers are playing melodies on top that may be in with the thumb or in between the thumb plucks. So to get that down, it's really a matter of just pulling it apart and being very patient and playing very slowly. So if I look at the first bar of the piece here, I want to see what is happening with the thumb, what is happening without the thumb. You're either playing notes with the thumb, with the bass, or in between. So we start without any bass because we lead into the first beat of the bar, and then when we do get there, the first 6th harmony there is played with the bass note, and then we get one in between, and then we get 3 more plucks of the bass note. So I would just maybe take that first bar, leave the leading notes off, and just not even think of time or anything like that, playing to a tempo. Just slowly get the mechanics of it down. Together, separately, and then 2 more plucks. Just send that message to the fingers. Then you could add the little leading. Then you could get your first bar going, even just free of time. Once you've got that in, then you can put the time, put a tempo to it. Okay, then I would take the next bar and just isolate that and just slowly go through what's with the bass, what's without the bass. So again, the 6th harmony with the bass, then an open E without, then I move position to get the 2nd fretted note. That melody note is with a bass note, then the next melody note is without, then we get the bass note, and the connection or the run up to the root of the A that is awaiting us in the next bar. So I just very methodically, very slowly, mechanically go through that. Together, then a note in between, together, note in between, then the bass, connection to the A. Once you get that going, you'll start to be able to put it to time. Right? Albeit slowly, which is what you want to do first. Okay? And you work your way through the piece like that. There's no real magic to it other than just self-discipline, focus, and patience. If you do the right things enough times in a row, your fingers will learn it. The only time you fall into trouble is if you try and do things too quickly. You try and do too much at once, you try and do it too fast, you're 3 or 4 steps ahead of where you should be. If you take it very slowly, you will get this. And once you've got that coordination with the thumb and the fingers, the next piece becomes easier, and the next piece after that becomes even easier, okay? Because the same skills are required to play these types of pieces. So be really patient when you break this piece down. It's worth the time and effort you'll invest into it. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with it, and let me know how you go with it in the comments. If you like this video, then you'll love this free ebook audio, How to Build Your Very Own Acoustic Guitar Fingerpicking Blues Song. In this ebook, I break the 12-bar blues down into 4 key areas, making it easy for you to understand. You then learn how to approach each one of these areas of the blues with a variety of fingerpicking riffs and licks from which to create your arrangement. The best thing is, I'm going to give you an inch and then show you how to take a mile by demonstrating how you can create variation upon variation of a fingerpicking blues song using the riffs and melodies you learn in the ebook. You can think of each riff like that of a puzzle piece. However, unlike a puzzle, there is more than one way to connect your riffs together to create a fingerpicking blues. This is the key to coming up with your own arrangements. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook audio, How to Build Your Very Own Acoustic Guitar Fingerpicking Blues Song. Let me know in the comments below this video what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see in future videos. I read the comments. I love to hear your suggestions. There are many great suggestions that do become videos on the channel. So don't be shy, drop us a line. If you like this video, then hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and of course hit the notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I've released a new video. This is Simon Candy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net. As always, I really do appreciate you sticking with me and watching this video to this point in time, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.